Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go over how to do basic object-oriented programming in Python. So I'm gonna use pydev. So on these school machines, they've got pydev installed. So I'll go to Eclipse. Pydev is just a plugin for Eclipse, if you didn't know that. I'll show how to add that really quickly before I actually show how to do the coding. And then I'll install the Vim plugin too, because I really can't code without Vim. So I'm gonna wait for this thing to boot up. Alright, loads. Just hit this X. I'll bring you to the main view. If you go here, you can see pydev's already installed. Normally, if you have a normal Eclipse setup, you'll have to go to the Eclipse marketplace. And then let's wait for it to fetch. Then you'll type pydev in the find field up here. So pydev, hit enter. Okay, and then it'll return right here. It's already installed on this machine, so I'm not gonna bother. The next one is Vim, which is what I like using anyways. So I'll install Vim really fast, the Vim plugin. So then I get the Vim hotkeys and stuff. Then I'll hit finish. Hit OK. Now I'll restart. You don't really need the Vim plugin. This is just for me because I like using Vim hotkeys. If you don't know what Vim is, I would probably not recommend using it right away. It's something cool to get into, but you'll have to look into how to use it because it's kind of different than normal text editing. So I'm going to make a pydev project right here. I'm going to call it basic rectangle. I gotta add a project interpreter, so it has to find where my Python interpreter is. So I just hit auto config. We'll see what pulls up. Pulls up 2.7. I wanted 2.7. You should probably be using 3 by now. I'll probably do some 3 tutorials later. But I'm used to 2.7. And a lot of people still use 2.7, so it's not really bad. I don't think the class stuff has changed too much. So we'll make this basic rectangular class. I'll make a module. And I'm not gonna add a package, I'll just call it rectangle or something. Basic rect, something like that. Okay. Sure. And then it's gonna be a class, so I'll make it a class. Ask me what my name wants to be. I'll call it rect. And it inherits objects. So what this means is it just inherits a normal object. You don't have to necessarily put that in the syntax, but that's what they did here by default. These are doc strings, so essentially you can view that as Python documentation. So this right here, this init function, so that's what's known as a constructor. So when we construct this object, what's going to happen is it will run this piece of code that we're going to add here. And in our case, we just want x and y for our rectangle. And then we'll do something called self.x equals x, and then self.y equals y. So what this does is when we construct this rectangle object, it's going to attach a x value and a y value to the object itself. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So in our execution code outside of this class, you can see I put all the way to the left so it's not indented, it's not inside the class. So in our executable code, what we're going to do is we're going to construct a rectangle object. So we'll say rect, and then I'll give it an x value of 2 and a y value of 3. And I'll call it rect1. So this creates a reference to an object, a rectangle object, with x values 2 and 3. And it might be easier to understand if I put maybe like width and height or something like that, but I might change it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print off the x value, and then I'm going to print off the y value right afterwards. And then I'll hit F11, it'll run it. And you can see it printed off 2 and 3, which was the values we constructed with. But what's cool about object-oriented programming is once we have like this class or this template, what I can do is I can copy this. I can create a new object with a different reference. So rect2, and we'll give it different arguments like 7, like 5 and 7, and then I can print off its contents. So we'll wait for it to run, and you can see the new contents are 5 and 7. So like this isn't very useful. You could do this with variables, right? So you could set x equal to 2, y equal to 3, and then print them off. But what's interesting is you can create more methods on top of this. So if I wanted the area, something like that, I can do that, and then I can say return self.x times self.y. So what this is going to do is these two values, it'll multiply, and it'll multiply these two values. So now I can call the area on these two values. So I'll do this, and then I'll say area, and then I'll do the next one for rect2, and then I'll call area on it. Wait for it to run. I can say the area for this one was 6, and then the area for this one was 35. And instead of doing these prints, I'm going to make a pretty print. So we'll say pretty print. Pass self to it. Self allows you to grab those attributes that we added over here. So I'll say print self.x, and I'll add a string that's kind of nice. I'll say print x value is that, y value is that, and area is self.area. So now instead of doing all this, I can do rect1.area, and then I can also do rect2.area. And you can see what's nice about this is I just changed the code in this rectangle class, and now I can now use it on both of these. So it kind of affects all your object references. Okay, so you can see how it pretty printed it. I'm going to add some new lines. Just do this at the end so they're kind of separated. Okay, so you can say x value is 2, y value is 3, area is 6, x value is 5, y value is 7, and then area is 35. So where you can extend on this is you can try to add the parameter. So I'd recommend trying to add a parameter and then print off these two, maybe construct another rectangle. But that's kind of the basics of object-oriented programming in Python. If you need any help setting up Eclipse or pydev or whatever, just message me and I'll make a tutorial on that. Peace.